seated in good shape. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome, and welcome to everybody who is joining us on the live stream. In case you don't know me, I'm Ben Goldstein. Rabbi is on vacation this Shabbat, and I am leading services for us in this time. So we'll start on page 643. And can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I'm sorry, page 634. 634, we'll start with Ki Eshmera Shabbat, which means when I keep Shabbat, God keeps me. It is a sign forever between God and me. Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereni. Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereni. Oti leomeyad beino uveini. Oti leomeyad beino uveini. Ki yeshmera Shabbat el yishmereni. Ki yeshmera Shabbat el yishmereni. Oti leomeyad beino uveini. Oti leomeyad beino uveini. And then we'll go to the song at the bottom of the page, Maya Hayom, how lovely today is, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And as tonight during our service, we will also be observing Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is Israel Independence Day, which starts on Monday night. So a little bit later on in the service, we will have a few special readings that we're going to do honoring the 76th birthday of the modern state of Israel, because, of course, Israel has been around a lot longer than 76 years, but 1948 was when the modern state was established after the ending of the British Mandate. So we will get to that later on in the service. Now we turn to page 120 for the candle blessing. And I'd like to invite up Karen Solomon, Deborah Solomon, and Mira Domash for in honor of Mother's Day, which is on Sunday. All kinds of celebrations going on here. And to have a nice three-generation lighting the Shabbat candles. Yeah, 120, but whichever one you want to do.
You want to stand next to me? Find page 120. Okay. You stand next to me. There are no matches?
My mom's. Asher Kitchanu B'mitzvotav Itzivanu L'Ner Shel Shabbat.
Amen.
As, do you want me to? Yeah, read it with me. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Thank you. And for those keeping score at home, in addition to Yom HaAtzmaut and Mother's Day, we are also in the period of counting the Omer, which is between Passover and Shavuot. So hopefully everybody grabbed one of these booklets that's on the table out in front. And on the, I think it was opened on the very front where it says Omer at the top, there's a reading. And we'll read that, and then I'll have you bring up the flowers. So where it says Omer, we'll read this responsively. With wilderness wanderings and springtime sproutings, these Omer weeks are filled. Trudging towards Sinai, our kneading troughs now spilled. Sated with manna, slavery behind us, seeking something new. We offer our blossoms and mark the days as God's presence comes into view. High on a mountain, obscured from sight, a covenant is born. We, God's partners, come forth to claim it as on that distant morn. Count 49 days, a week of weeks, Yemei Sheva Shabbatot complete. We ascend once more, arms laden with bouquets. We not, our God now meet. And that was written by Rabbi Feingold. And then on the inside, we'll now have the part about counting the Omer. And while we do this, Evie Lepp, if you would please bring the flowers up, which we use as a symbolic offering to when they brought sheaves of barley back in ancient times during the Omer. We are about to take part in the ancient tradition with its roots in the Torah, where it is written, "You shall count off 7 weeks from the day after the holy day, from the day you first brought the Omer offerings. Count 7 complete weeks and 1 day more, 50 days of Omer offerings." And we'll say the blessing together in the middle. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav al sefirat haomer. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has consecrated us by mitzvot and commanded us to count the Omer. Today is the 18th day of the Omer. Today is the 19th day since our exodus from Egypt. There are 32 days to Sinai. I'll read together at the bottom there in the italics. At this season, our ancestors brought sheaves of barley to wave in gratitude for the bounty of the harvest. At this season, as our earth unfolds and springtime ripens into summer, filling us with hope and the sense of renewed life, we celebrate the bounty of our earth. Please turn to page 126, and let's read this together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Please turn to page 138 and 139, and we will sing Lecha Dodi, and this is written by Shlomo Halevi Al-Kabetz in the 16th century in Sfat in Israel. If you've been to Israel and if you're familiar with the mystical city of Sfat, is where he was from, and they would actually go into the fields and sing and welcome Shabbat as if she is a bride coming into our midst. So we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and on the 9th verse, we'll rise and face the entrance to the sanctuary welcoming Shabbat as if she was a bride coming into our midst, which I'll be doing in 2 weeks when my daughter gets married. I had to add that, sorry. We'll use the Craig Taubman tune. Laka laka do di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Laka laka do di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem tiferet v'liti la 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 l'chado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. L'chado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi makor habaracha mirosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'asa b'machshavat chila la 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 chado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri kiva ore kuhumi ori uri shir daberi kavod Adonai alai yichnig la 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 lechado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala tochem unei am segula. Boi chala la 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 lechado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechado di likrat kala pene pene Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated. Page 140, the 92nd Psalm, a psalm for Shabbat. We'll sing part of it and then we'll pick it up in the English. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lahagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha baleilot, alei asor ve'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. And let's read together in the middle of the page the indented part where it says, the righteous. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no wrong. Please turn to page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish as we rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah. Bialma divrach hirutev yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv v'yimaru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach Le'olam olam me'omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitroman, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudasha, Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran bi'alma, V'yimaru, Amen. We turn to page 146 for the Baruchu, the formal call to worship. Everything else that we have done so far was welcoming Shabbat, almost like a warm-up, but welcoming Shabbat, bringing Shabbat in, and now this formally starts the actual service. Baruchu et Adonai, Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, Leolam Va'ed. And we turn to page 148 and read together in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvit muna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umasader et hakochavim, b'mishmoroteham barakia kirzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom, umevi laila, umavdil bein yom umein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And on page 151, we'll read responsively in the middle of the page. This is an interpretation of Ahavat Olam. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives its form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Arushem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated as we turn to page 154 for the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech u'shachbecha uvkumecha ukshartan le'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitam et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet. Page 157 at the middle of the page, we'll read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Thus continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, norah tehilot osefela, norah tehilot osefela. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeya yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu v'yamru, Ze'elianu v'yamiru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'amar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo mi'ed chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. And on page 160, Hashkivenu, we'll read this in the English, and when I lead Friday night services, I know many of you have heard me say this before, but this is a very beautiful prayer, asking God to watch over us at nighttime when it is dark, even though it's not dark yet, but when it is dark and we are most vulnerable, and we ask for God's protection. So we'll read together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guide our going and our coming to life and to peace evermore. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, bi'al kol amo Yisrael, be'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162, Vishamru, which is taken from the book of Exodus, chapter 31. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berith olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berith olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berith olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berith olam. Please turn to page 164 and 165 as we rise for tefillah. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Adonai sifatai tiftach uhufi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Maot, Umevihi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Vezrat Sarah. 168. Atagi bor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah rav l'hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Bechaye hakol birachamim rabim, Somech noflim, V'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umakayem emunato l'shenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech meimit umachaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'na'aman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. And 170, Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, Ukdoshim B'chol Yom Yahalu Chasela, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Please turn to page 173 and let's read together at the top of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And on page 175, at the bottom of the page, this is an English interpretation of Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu B'Amecha Yisrael. Together. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadecha b'yira na'avod. And on page 177, at the top of the page, we'll read together. O God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lahodot. And on page 178, Shalom Rav, again, another prayer that we sing asking for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech Adon L'chol ha-shalom, ki atahu melech Adon, l'chol ha-shalom, shalom rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam, shalom rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit uv'chol sha'a bishlamecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai hamavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Now take a moment for a personal silent prayer. There are meditations that can be found on pages 180 or 181, or of course you can use your own words and thoughts. Page 180. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. We now turn to page 362 for the Torah service. And if we all would please rise, and Mary Kay, if you will join me, and Mimi, if you will join me up here as well. Mary Kay has the Aliyah, and Mimi is reading Torah, so it worked. Ve'ein k'ma'asecha. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim. Umemshaltecha b'chal dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, u'devar Adonai mi'Yerushalayim. Rabbi makes it look so easy. This. Got it? Okay. Great. In the scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it. We'll go to the first step. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah. Li'amo Yisrael B'Higdu Shato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Turn around. Gadlul Adonai iti Unaroma Shemo Yatav. Adonai Hagedua Ve'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Havetzah Ve'Avod Ki Kol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz Ki Kol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz Adonai Hamacha Yaminaseh L'Kol Rosh Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed Al HaTorah Ve'al Avodah Ve'al Gimliut Hasadim Al HaTorah Ve'al Avodah Ve'al Gimliut Hasadim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed. Please be seated. And here is her card and, yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay, you're all set.
The Torah portion today is Leviticus, chapter 19, 1 through 27. The parasha is called Kedoshim, and we'll be reading from verse 19, 1 through 8. In the red, in the red Eitz Chaim, it's page 693 that it starts. And in the blue one, it starts on page 497. And Mary Kay Schleiter is gonna say the blessings. Ta'amod, Ruth Miriam bat Abraham v'Yis Basara. Ta'amod.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai
Adonai Hamavarach.
Hamarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai Noten haTorah. Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'amarta alehem kedoshim tehiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Ish imoho ve'aviv tir'ahu ve'et shabtotai tishmoru ani Adonai Elohechem. Al tifnu el ha'elilihim ve'lohei masecha lo ta'asuhu lachem ani Adonai Elohechem. Ve'chi tizbechu zavach shalamim l'Adonai lirtzonechem tizbechu b'yom zivchachem ye'achel umimocharat v'hanotar ad yom hashlishi be'esh yisaref ve'ihim ha'echal yo'achel v'yom hashlishi piguhu lo yeratzeh ve'achlav avonoho yisaha ki et kadosh Adonai chilel v'nichrata hanefesh hahu me'ameha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata
B'tochenu
Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And God spoke to Moses to say, speak to all of the community of the children of Israel and say to them, holy you shall be, because holy am I, Adonai your God. Each person, their mother and father will hold in awe, or will hold in awe their mother and father. And my Sabbaths will protect, guard, watch, and keep. I am Adonai your God. Do not turn to gods, to other gods, and do not make masks that are molten images of them. I am Adonai your God. And if you sacrifice, a peace offering for God, for it to be accepted, you will make the sacrifice, and on the day of the sacrifice, you can eat of it up until the next day, and the rest, on the third day, you will burn in fire. And if what is eaten, if the food is eaten on the third day, it is an abomination, and it's tainted, and it will not be accepted. And the one who eats of it will need to bear his sin, because the holiness of God he profaned. And he will be cut off, or that soul will be cut off from the people.
Yeah, let's do that first. Okay. Please rise. Zot Torah, Asher
Moshe, Lifnei Bnei Yisrael,
Al Pi Adonai, B'yad Moshe. Please be seated.
It's so wonderful that Ben knows how to do this. Okay. This Torah portion is called Kiddushim. And as you may know, the name of every Torah portion is based on the first unique word in it. So the beginning words of this was, God spoke unto Moses saying, and that was not one of the first words, because you hear that over and over again. But the very first word that was unique was Kiddushim, and in this case, Kiddushim was referring to the children of Israel. As we know, Kadosh means holy. What we might ponder is what holy actually means. So first, let's just say that this portion, Kiddushim, has highs and lows. The highs are early in the portion, and in fact, because of those, what I say highs, they're more like sublime recommendations and commandments and so forth. We read on, I think, Yom Kippur, is that right, the Holiness Code? And that's the part where we talk about you don't cut the corners of your fields, which actually came right after the verse we just finished reading. Don't cut the corners of your fields, save them for those who are in need. Don't put a stumbling block before the blind. Don't insult the people who cannot hear. So those are the highs. The lows consist both of things that the Torah considered unforgivable sins then that now we accept. And the rabbi actually mentioned this in her Dvar Torah that she put out to the congregation. It also lists every foul act that a human might think of doing, and then the consequences, which are usually stoning to death in this portion. So I think we usually skip those, frankly, because they don't uplift us as we seek to be uplifted on Shabbat and when we read the Torah. But again, the holy word comes up when God says, holy shall you be, kiddoshim, plural, because God is speaking to the entire community of the children of Israel. And we shall be holy because God is holy. So the first three verses after that are, or they're not even verses, two of them are in one verse, are be in awe of your mother and your father, protect my Sabbaths, and don't turn to other gods. And those are famous. They're in the Ten Commandments too, right? And then later on you have don't steal, don't, etc. But again, I think we want to ask, what does holy mean? So let's riff on things that are holy. God is holy. Shabbat is holy. The Torah is holy. The days of awe are holy. With Shabbat, a big thing is the separation. And at the end of Shabbat, we observe Havdalah. We're separating what's holy from what is not holy. And as Heschel says, quoted somewhere in our Siddur, in Shabbat, during Shabbat, we find the time in that separation to celebrate holiness in time instead of running from place to place. The Torah is also holy. We keep it in a holy ark, the Aron HaKodesh. We can't touch it. We use the yad. If we drop it, we have to fast for 40 days. And as most of us get up here and read from it, we feel pretty darn nervous. And I'm always kind of like this. Then there's the days of awe, the holy days of awe. The word for awe is norah. It's terrible, and it's also like fear. So we're supposed to hold our parents in awe and kind of fear them. And this is how we feel about God. And the Torah certainly inspires fear. So now, after we talked in this first few verses about honoring your parents, protecting Shabbat, not turning to other gods, the next big thing they go to before they talk about not cutting the corners of your fields and other kind of elevated thoughts is the sacrifice of the peace offering. So what is the peace offering? I guess it was a meal of some creature, probably a goat or something like that, that was eaten and shared between people before God was the idea. Like God was consecrating their meal as they made an agreement to live in peace together. So one might ask, what was the big deal here about you could eat it for 2 days, you could eat it 1 day after, you could eat it 2 days after, but by day 3, if you eat it, it's terrible, and the poor guy who messed up and ate was out of the community, boom. Now that's not as bad as what happened to Nadab and Abihu. Do you remember Aaron's sons? They did something wrong with the flame, and then they went up in a puff of smoke. So this guy doesn't go up in a puff of smoke. But what's the point here, There are rules, there are mitzvot, there are laws, there are consequences, and it's all associated with respect and awe and fear. And I guess we need this. We need this to get to that place of being holy. We need to follow laws and guidelines, and we probably won't unless there's some strictness there. And it is that enables us to arrive at truths, large and small, to arrive at that holiness of time, to feel that peacefulness that is the best part of feeling holy. So when we think about this individual cut off from the community for eating the thing on the third day, of note here, as we said, he didn't go up in a puff of smoke. He's separated from the community. But perhaps in that separation from the community, he will have the opportunity to self-examine and to get to that place of holiness. And then, in this portion, in that little sentence, they leave open the possibility that he can be accepted back into the community. So, I think that's all I have to say about the story portion.
Thank you. Thank you, Yasha Kola. What an insightful and great interpretation and lesson that we learned from this. Incidentally, some years this is actually a double portion, Achrei Mot and Kedoshim, but this year they are separated. And my bar mitzvah was actually Achrei Mot and Kedoshim, which was a double portion. And don't ask me, I actually learn more now than when you're 13. You're not necessarily paying attention. You're learning all the other things that go along with it. Although I know our kids here do learn quite a bit of it, and get quite a bit of knowledge from it. But this whole concept of the holiness and the separation, and I was reading in Eitz Chaim, and it was talking about with it not so much the holy and the profane, like when we talk about at Havdalah, the separation, but the holy and the not yet holy, and that you can attain to that holiness. And it's really, there's quite a lot that we can learn from it. So now, before we read the Haftarah, we will do the Mishaberach for those in need of healing, which is on page 371. And this week, we say the Mishaberach in our congregation for Skelly Warren, Yaakov ben Yaakov, Ashley Bori, Ita Rachel bat Katya Chana V'Simcha, Abigail Plaus Lappins, Chana Fredel bat Dov Verena, Jill Sater, Gila bat Eliyahu V'Esther, Stephen St. Amon, Chagai mi Beit Avraham V'Sarah, Barney Lavin, Baruch Eliyahu ben Avraham V'Sarah, Lisa Alexander, Leah Michal bat Reza Chaya, Linda Salzberg, Leah Root bat Yaakov V'Helene, William Jewell, Yisrael ben Avraham V'Sarah, and Naomi Weissman Zabler, Naomi bat Shriga Feivel V'Miriam. If there are any others, please mention their names at this time. Saffron. Are there any others? We also pray for all those in Israel, the injured and suffering physically and emotionally, both in Israel and the innocent in Gaza. We also pray for healing for those who struggle against addiction and alcoholism, and pray for courage for those in recovery. The Mishaberach, page 371. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And now for the Haftarah, Jennifer, if you will come up, please. And do you know what you're reading from?
Benji, I want to go off script for a minute
Go right ahead.
because I'm noticing that Hashem has afforded me an opportunity for something, and I hope you'll all indulge me. My mom is here tonight, and I didn't know that she was going to be here, and so I would like to call her up with me to do the blessings before and after the Haftarah. So come on up, Mom, because this is the weekend we should be doing this. You'll just bring your book so you'll have the English. We'll do it in English. It'll be good.
It's all yours.
Thank you for indulging this. I don't know that we've ever been on the Bema and done like a had a blessing together or whatever on the Bema, so. Yeah, you want to be on that side, probably. So if, everyone, we're going to do the blessing before the Haftarah. The Haftarah is, I'm going to be reading from Ezekiel 22, verses 13 through 19. I am super nervous and my hands are clammy, Mimi. So page 372 are our blessings. Please go to the next page.
Let me put my eyes on.
And we're going to go here.
Okay.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen faithful prophets to speak words of truth. Praise to you, Adonai, for the revelation of Torah, for your servant Moses, and for your people Israel, and for prophets of truth and righteousness. Lo, I will strike my hands over the ill-gotten gains that you have amassed, and over the bloodshed that has been committed in your midst. Will your courage endure? Will your hands remain firm in the days when I deal with you? I, God, have spoken, and I will act. I will scatter you among the nations and disperse you through the lands. I will consume the impurity out of you. You shall be dishonored in the sight of nations, and you shall know that I am God. The word of God came to me, O mortal, the house of Israel has become dross to me. They are all copper, tin, iron, and lead. But in a crucible the dross shall turn into silver. Assuredly, thus said the sovereign God, because you have all become dross, I will gather you into Jerusalem. Bottom of the page.
Okay.
Praise to you, Adonai our God,
God, sovereign of the universe, rock of all creation, righteous one of all generations, the faithful God, whose word is deed, whose every command is just and true. For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and for this Shabbat that you, Adonai, our God, have given us, for holiness and rest, for honor and glory, we thank and bless you. May your name be blessed forever by every living being. Praise to you, Adonai, for the Sabbath and its holiness.
Yasher Koach, Judy.
Yashiko, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course.
Thank you, baby.
Of course. Yasher Koach, what a beautiful night. And also, incidentally, if you're not aware, tonight, I believe, is the first time that, Mary Kay, that you have had an Aliyah, correct? So we have lots of great things tonight. Wonderful. So the Haftarah that Jennifer just read, the way it relates, and I'm looking here in in Eitz Chaim, the way it relates, because the Haftarah always relates to the Torah portion, this Haftarah stresses, as it says here, cultic and moral sins, many of which are directly connected to laws found in both parashiyot, Achrei Mot, the previous one, and then Kedoshim, which is what Mimi read tonight. The prophet's diatribe also echoes passages found in Leviticus, Kedoshim, including detailed similarities such as the profanation of Shabbat, the economic oppression of compatriots, and the base activities leading to bloodshed. The instructions in Achrei Mot, stressing the point that observing the laws of the covenant is something one lives in and through, raises living by the laws of the Torah into spiritual principle. This Haftarah, in contrast, teaches that immorality vitiates and perverts the life and spirit of the perpetrator and of the victim by emphasizing the point that maltreatment of the poor and needy is an act of bloodshed. By presenting sin as an act of defilement, both this Haftarah and the two parashiyot present the covenant as a means of purity or sanctification for the earth and for its inhabitants. In this way, all actions prescribed by the covenant constitute a kind of priestly service, transforming the mere nature into acts of holiness and the mere human into spiritual life. So now we will continue, before we put the Torah back, on page 376, A Prayer for Our Country. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have shared in it with those who are in need, by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work for peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. And I'm going to hold off on the prayer for Israel because we are going to include that in the things that I'm going to be doing for Yom Ha'atzmaut. So if you'll all rise, and we'll return the Torah to the ark on page 374. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai, ki nizgav shemo levado. For I have given you good instruction, do not abandon my Torah. Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba, v'tomecha me'ushar, deracheha darchei noam, V'chol netivoteha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai elecha v'nafshuva. Chadesh, Chadesh yameinu, Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Please be seated. So as I said earlier, Monday night we are celebrating Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is Israel Independence Day. And this year particularly, I think it really holds a special meaning. October 7th, everything really changed. I remember sitting here in the sanctuary during Simchat Torah services, and I was sitting over there as I saw some things on my phone earlier before I came here, but as I was sitting over there and rabbis leading the service and reading Torah, and my phone keeps dinging and going off, and I'm seeing what is happening, and as we all were, couldn't believe what was going on. And so as we read some of these things today, I think it's important for us to know, regardless how we feel, I think we can all agree that we do deeply, deeply care about the state of Israel and have the love for the state of Israel. And as we read some of these things, keeping that in our thoughts, and that they know, that the people that are there know that around the world that we are all thinking about them and care about them and pray for a swift end to this war, and that we will no longer feel the effects or be victims of terrorism, and that terrorism will hopefully cease to exist. So that is my prayer for this. So what we'll be doing is reading certain excerpts. What I like about this Mishkan Tefillah is they include excerpts from the actual Declaration of Independence for Israel, because if you know, Israel does have a Declaration of Independence, but they don't have a constitution. They have basic laws, and those of us that are in our Together and Apart class, and we've been learning a lot about that and about Israel and our connection to Israel, the Jews in Israel, and the Jews in the diaspora. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about, is this difference with, like here in the United States, we have a Declaration of Independence, and we have a constitution, which is the laws of our land. In Israel, it is a little bit different, but we're going to read, some of these things. So we'll start on page 538, and this is from the beginning of the State of Israel Declaration of Independence Preamble, Friday the 14th of May, 1948, which was 76 years ago, Erev Shabbat, 5th of Iyar, in the Hebrew year of 5708. So let's read together at the top of the page. Eretz Yisrael was the birthplace of the Jewish people. After being forcibly exiled from their land, the people remained faithful to it throughout their dispersion and never ceased to pray and hope for their return to it and for the restoration in it of their political freedom. And Theodore Herzl, who was one of the people instrumental in the founding of the rebirth of the State of Israel, said, Im tirtzu ein zo agada, if you will it, it is no dream, to be a free people in Zion and Jerusalem. And here's another quote from Albert Einstein. Whatever we do for the land of Israel, we do it for the honor and the well-being of the whole Jewish people. And on page 540, we'll read together another excerpt. Impelled by this historic and traditional attachment, Jews strove in every successive generation to reestablish themselves in their ancient homeland. In recent decades, they have returned in their masses. Pioneers, immigrants coming to Eretz Yisrael in defiance of the restrictive legislation, and defenders, they made the desert bloom, revived the Hebrew language, built villages and towns, and created a thriving community controlling its own economy and culture, loving peace but knowing how to defend itself, bringing the blessings of progress to all the country's inhabitants, and aspiring towards independent nationhood. And then on page 542 at the top, the State of Israel will be open for Jewish immigration and for the ingathering of the exiles. 544. The State of Israel will foster the development of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It will safeguard the holy places of all religions, and it will be faithful to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. And then on 546, at the top, in Eretz Yisrael, here their spiritual, religious, and political identity was shaped. Here they first attained to statehood, created cultural values of national and universal significance, and gave to the world the eternal book of books. And on 547 at the top of the page, there's a quote here from Peretz Smolenskin. Without the Hebrew language, there is no Torah, and without Torah, there is no Jewish people. 548, we extend our hands to all neighboring states and their peoples in an offer of peace and good neighborliness, and appeal to them to establish bonds of cooperation and mutual help with the sovereign Jewish people settled in its own land. The state of Israel is prepared to do its share in a common effort for the advancement of the entire Middle East. And on 550, the concluding paragraph. We appeal to the Jewish people throughout the diaspora to rally around the Jews of Eretz Yisrael in the task of immigration and upbuilding, and to stand by them in the great struggle for the realization of the age-old dream, the redemption of Israel. Placing our trust in the Rock of Israel, we affix our signatures to its proclamation at this session of the Provisional Council of State on the soil of the homeland in the city of Tel Aviv on this Sabbath Eve, the 5th day of Iyar 5708, which corresponds to 14 May 1948, and this is signed by the founders of the modern state, beginning with David Ben-Gurion. And as you look, you might see some other names that you notice. One of them, Golda Meirson, and I think many of us know who Golda Meirson ended up becoming, Golda Meir, who was the first female prime minister of the state of Israel. And I believe for a time she lived in Milwaukee, didn't she? That's what I thought. Yeah, she was a school teacher, if I remember, in Milwaukee before she emigrated to then Palestine and then Israel and rose to power. And incidentally, I had an aunt as my mom's first cousin whose husband at the time was head of the Israel Bond Office in Chicago. And she was blessed to have met, I even have a picture on my phone that she was able to have met David Ben-Gurion and Golda Meir and many of these people, these founders that we have learned about in Israel. And after services, I'm happy to show it to you. It's a very cool picture. I sent it to Rabbi after one of our classes. And she says, "Is David Ben-Gurion holding your aunt's hand?" And I said, "He sure is." And you see him in there, and they're sitting at a table talking, and her husband's standing over them. And they had a friendship, and Golda Meir, several of these people. And it's really pretty incredible when you think about it. I just grew up knowing these stories, but as I think about it now, what a meaningful and deep impact that had. So I thought what we would do at this point, because I have a different closing song, but I thought at this point we could rise and sing the national anthem for Israel, Hatikva, which means the hope. So if everybody would please rise. It translates to, so long as it is writ within the innermost heart, a Jewish spirit sings. So long as the eye looks eastward, gazing toward Zion, our hope is not lost. The hope of 2,000 years to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Kol od lo balevav penihima Nefesh Yehudi Homiya Ufate Mizra Kadima Ayin Litzion Sophia Od Lo Avda Tikvatenu Atikva Bachnot Alpaim Liot Amchovshi Be'artseinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim Liot Amchovshi Be'artseinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. And we remain standing for turn to page 586 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liot seher breshit shelo asanu kogoye haratzot velo samanu kamishpachot hadama shelo samchelkenu kahem vigoralenu kechol hamonam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim liflei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. You may be seated. One of the best parts about leading the service is I get to push the button for the ark. So if anyone wants to push the button for the ark, you're more than welcome to if you want to lead a service. 589. Alkena kavelacha Adonai Eloheinu lehirot mehira b'tiferet uzdacha l'takein olam b'malchut shaddai. Together, Adonai our God, how soon we hope to behold the perfection of our world, guided by a sacred covenant drawn from human and divine meeting. And on page 591, V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. As we turn to page 595, anyone who is observing a yahrzeit who has experienced the death of a dear one in recent weeks or months may now rise at this time while we read the meditation for the Kaddish. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. And this week at Bethel Temple, we observed the yahrzeits of Patricia Thompson, Pamela Platt, Ivan R. Berg, Emmanuel M. Ginsberg, Dr. Sherwood W. Woody Gorens, George Ullenberg, Ann B. Newman, Aaron Kellman, Robert H. Newman, Dr. Samuel Lepovsky, Charlotte Lepp. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. And if everyone would all rise as we recite the Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei chon u'vyomei chon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mavarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekud brichu. La'ela min kol birkata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nachamata. Damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. And Jim Shapiro, before you sit down, if you would come up, please. Jim Shapiro from our Leadership Council, who will read the welcome message. Oh, you do?
I think your print's bigger, actually. Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of the Leadership Council of Beth Hillel Temple, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all who have joined us this Shabbat, whether in person or on live stream. We thank Ben Goldstein and Mimi Schneiderman-Platt for leading services this Shabbat while Rabbi Feingold is away. And thanks to Evie and Bud Lepp for hosting the pre-service Oneg Shabbat. There will be no Oneg following services. Rabbi Feingold will be back in town tomorrow evening. Rabbi Steve Adams is on call until then. We continue to be concerned about the situation in Israel and Gaza. We will maintain our blue ribbon empty chairs on the bima until all of the Israeli hostages are released by Hamas. Other temple information is found on the temple website, and e-news with current information and up-and-coming events was sent on Thursday.
So for the closing song, let me just get this here. Okay, it worked. Deborah, I learned this trick from you from playing a song during services. So what we're going to do for the closing song is on page 652. And this is Bashana Haba'ah, which I think many of you know. We're going to sing the first verse in the chorus, and then I have a recording of it that is probably one of the most well-known, and there were several. When Rabbi asked me about it, and if I knew it, I said, well, I can do part of it. And I know I have a recording that was on a record album we had that I think my grandparents got when they came back from Israel. It's like El Songs of Israel. And I found it online, believe it or not. And she says, well, that's good. She says, because I have a recording that was done by Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet, and I found that on YouTube, and it is there. And there are a lot of versions of this, but hopefully I can get this to work. So the meaning of it is on page 653. It says, next year, we will sit on the porch and count migrating birds. Children on vacation will play catch between the house and the fields. You will yet see how good it will be next year. Red grapes will ripen in the evening and will be served chilled to the table. Sounds good. And lazy winds will carry the crossroads old newspapers like a cloud. Next year, we will spread our own hands toward the radiant light. A white heron will spread her wings in the light as the sun shines down through them. And I think, Mimi, you led this when you did this when you led services, right? Right. Okay. So do the first part of it. Bashana haba'ah nisheva al mirpased v'nisport tziporim nodadot. Oh, yes, they do. Yeladim b'chufsha yisachak tu kofeset ben habayit leven hasadot. Otire kamadov yihiyah bashana haba'ah. Otire kamadov yihiyah bashana haba'ah. Okay, let's see if I can get this. You can hear it, right? Okay, I think, recognize this? Bashana haba'ah, neshever al mirpased
לספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
Second verse.
ענבים אדומים יבשילו עד הערב ויוגשו צוננים לשולחן. ורוחות רדומים יישאו אליהם הדרך עיתונים ישנים וענן. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
Third verse.
בשנה הבאה נפרוס כפות ידיים מול האור הניגר הלבן. ענפה לבנה תפרוס לאור כנפיים והשמש תזרח בתוכן. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. 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 עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
Shabbat Shalom. I love the way that trumpet starts and the do-do-do-do-do, you know?